Welcome to DCPC Live presents Scene Support, the podcast that spotlights the people behind the scenes who keep DIY and underground music alive. From the bookers and sound techs to zine writers and venue operators, we're here to give credit where it's long overdue. I'm your host, Scott Pash, founder of DCPC Live, a DIY record label documenting live punk, hardcore, ska, and metal through short-run vinyl releases. After decades in bands and behind the scenes, I've learned that scenes don't survive on music alone. They survive because people built infrastructure, take care of each other, and imagine something bigger than a show flyer or a lineup. Today, I'm talking with Lara Hope, one of the driving forces behind O Positive Festival in Kingston, New York. O Positive is a truly unique model, bringing together music, visual art, and wellness by trading art for healthcare and building a temporary but deeply intentional community rooted in mutual aid, access, and care. And while Lara is best known maybe for her work as a musician, fronting projects like Lara Hope and the Arctones and the recently reformed Tiger Piss, her work goes far beyond the stage. Through O Positive, she's helped rethink what supporting artists actually means, especially in scenes where healthcare, sustainability, and burnout are constant realities. O Positive isn't just an event. It's an ecosystem built around care, labor, and long-term sustainability. And I am so stoked to sit here and talk with Lara Hope about all that it does. How you doing, Lara?
Great, and that was such a nice introduction and a way to describe, the work we're doing. Thank you.
I love what you're doing. And, I could have put in the introduction how we met and how much O Positive actually involved me moving to Kingston. But like, you're one of the very first people that I met in Kingston before I moved here. I don't know if you recall that street interaction. It
I remember
was
chatting with you at Keegan Ailes. Was it before that?
It was before that. We met the right before the O Positive Fest with Tsunami Bomb and Scott Pository. My family was coming up from Florida for an evacuation vacation because the hurricane was coming through. And I had been looking in doctoral programs throughout the Northeast, and one of them was UAlbany. And my wife really loved the Hudson Valley. We had done a bicycle trip through here like during the pandemic as a safe vacation option. And she was determined to get me to agree to live in the Hudson Valley. So we're here in Kingston. You're standing outside promoting an upcoming O Positive festival. We chat for a little bit. You hand me the information. I'm like, oh, Tsunami Bomb. I'm kind of friends with Andy. We chat online all the time. Love that band. I was like, okay, this looks like interesting. And it happened to be the weekend before I was scheduled to fly up here anyway to travel to like NYU, Columbia, Albany, whatever, like interviewing doctoral programs. And my wife's like, you should go to O Positive Festival. I was like, really? It's like, yeah. I was like, I'm already going to be gone 5 days. You want me to be gone another 3 days? She's like, definitely. Because she wanted me to see that there was a music scene in the area because she knew I couldn't live anywhere without one. So I came up, loved O Positive Festival. Scott Pository, met them, put out the record, hung out
I
with
remember
Chris from
that.
the comic book shop, hung out with you, saw you sing on stage with Tsunami Bomb. Checked out all the venues, Keegan Ale, Snapper McGee's, etc. I was like, okay, I could live in this area. This could work. And lo and behold, come January, where am I?
Loved
So,
that.
so thank you for that.
Hell yeah. We're doing it. That
So
makes
how
me
many
really
years?
happy.
Well, it makes me happy. And it makes me happy that like you're doing something so intentional and thoughtful for musicians because, we've all played the show where we get paid gas money. Or it seems like a lot of money because I've done shows where I pay a band like say $800, but it's a ska band with 7 members. So it's like you're saying, hey, a little bit of money helps, but a little bit of healthcare helps a lot. So can you tell me where this all came from? You want to take me back to the granular seed of what this is and where it came from?
Yeah, absolutely. So the festival that we just threw this past October, so October 2025 was the 15th festival. I believe it's the 15th festival in 16 years because we skipped one because of COVID.
Yeah.
But I kinda love the origin story, and it sounds like a joke, but it's real. It was a a brewery owner, a dentist, and an artist activist were sitting at the bar, which was Keegan Ailes, probably maybe 17 years ago or
Okay.
around that time, and they're sitting around bullshitting, and the dentist says, "There's a band, uh, from the city that I really love, and I don't know much about booking. I don't really know, like, if I could afford them or really how it works, but, like, hell, I would be willing to, like, clean their teeth or take care of their dental work if I could get them to come up here and play. And Joe Conquera, co-founder of O Positive,
Yeah.
artivist, kinda had that light bulb go off over his head, and he said, Tom Single, who's still, works closely with O Positive as one of our dentists, he said,
Yes.
"Tom, well, that's a great idea. Why don't we reach out to them and see if they'd be willing to come up here and play in exchange for dental work?"
Sure.
And so I believe that band was Mono Gold, and Keith Kelly
Wow.
is still currently the bartender now at Keegan Ales. I mean, he wasn't around for years, but he is there now, so, like, very, very full circle. And, so so the festival began small, like, I don't think I was at maybe the first 1 or 2, but I've been to pretty much probably every one after that.
Okay.
I moved to Kingston in 2012, but I lived in the area prior to that in Rosendale and New Paltz. Um and I remember just really, really loving. I mean, I've always obviously been like an avid music lover and gone out of my way to see live music and go to festivals and play. And the thought of something on such a big scale coming to our area, I didn't have to go travel to another state or whatever to get to see all this music and all this art. And even as just a spectator, um, was I thought was very, very cool. And then when I got involved as like, I feel like I was always involved in some way up until the years where I started working for them. A couple times I played. It we we can only take so many artists, and there's so many submissions that, most like I think I've only ever played once with each of my bands in the course of 15 years. It's really hard just based on capacity to have people play multiple times, especially because of our now year-round clinic, which we can get into in a bit. But so I performed at it a couple times and I volunteered every year. And then, like, I think a couple years I hosted an open mic event. And then in I think 18 or 19, I got invited to be on the music committee, which we can also talk more about. So I got to kind of see more of how it worked from the inside in terms of curation and stuff. And that was a
Okay.
cool experience. But being a musician and going and having the full experience and getting the care and performing and seeing everything else and, even for people, at the time, I believe I had Medicaid, which is great. I mean, you literally can't buy health insurance better than Medicaid, but, even that doesn't cover a lot of things, and I think as a working artist, it really is it's manual labor. It's really physical, whether that's, like, being a musician or painting or a million other things. I mean, it's like repetitive motion over and over again, and schlepping heavy gear, so getting to do things. I tried things at O Positive that I had never been able to try before, like acupuncture and chiropractic, because you can go to a doctor and they'll throw medicine at you, but if you can actually find the root of what is hurting you via things like body work or acupuncture or physical therapy or chiropractic, um, and really try to fix your problem, that's awesome. And that was stuff I was able to do through O Positive. Like the first time I ever tried acupuncture, the first time I ever saw a chiropractor, to even know that that was something that I would like or something that could help me. So like a very, good experience for me in that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, the idea of trying something like acupuncture, I did it as desperation once, um, and it worked great, but, like, I was in so much pain and nothing else was working, but it was a lot of money. So it was something I was, like, really scared to do because I was paying out of pocket because my insurance didn't cover it, and you started off being about the dentist. I have insurance, but my dental insurance only covers, like, 2 cleanings a year. If I need a root canal or my kids need braces, anything like that, it's not that I don't imagine you covered braces at O Positive Fest, but like, just the idea that healthcare is a
Yeah, but the fact that we have all these connections with dentists, it's like at the very least we can try to get you a discount on things, as an O Positive family member.
I mean, I can go there's so many questions to dig into on this. Like, what are the range of healthcare services that the festival provides and how do you find the healthcare people willing to do it? Because are they just volunteering their time and efforts?
They're volunteering their time. The festival is paying for supplies and things like that, or even when we go to the dentist, there's supplies to be paid and there of course are fees associated, but people are donating their time for the most part. It changes a little bit year to year what's available at the festival clinic based on who is available and who wants to do it. We have a really wonderful clinic coordinator, Jessie Shearer, she's a massage therapist by trade, and she's been, running the clinic for years, and she is beloved in the community, and she knows a ton of people, and so she's been kind of accumulating this list of providers and doing outreach throughout the year for a long time. So there are, our repeat offenders, people that love being a part of it and come back every year, and then, there's obviously always new people moving to town, and some people I see the emails, people reach out to us throughout the year saying that they'd like to be involved, and then there's other it's referral based, and, so she's always looking for new stuff, so it's never the same, and even during
Okay.
the festival weekend, it's not the same day to day, like, when you walk into the clinic, there'll be a big chalkboard of, like, "This is what's available right now," and some of it is standard, like the things I just mentioned, but sometimes someone just said to me the other day, she's like, "When I go to the O Positive Festival clinic, I just look at the list and I'm like, what is the weirdest shit on here that I can get done?" Like something that I maybe did never heard of before or like wouldn't know where to get. I remember we've had like hypnotherapy
That
and
was the first thing
uh
in my mind. You just read
yeah,
it.
we've done that. And there was a thing with tuning forks this year, like, there's always some kinda, like,
Fascinating.
interesting out there stuff that and I hear it over the weekend, people will be like, "The tuning forks guy was amazing, I left feeling so good, I didn't know about that." And then there are the people a lot of people want a massage. People always want a massage.
That is phenomenal. That is phenomenal. Okay. So you started about bringing a band up, but from my experience going, you have artists and poets and a whole range. It's beyond music. When
But
did
yeah,
it branch out from being beyond music?
to
How'd
my
that
knowledge,
happen?
it was always, music, art, wellness,
Okay,
and so art is, loosely defined because art also incorporates dance, and it incorporates visual art, and also incorporates installations, um, all sorts of things. I mean, it's different every year. My mind is always blown by the, like, grand specter of how many different things are going on. Um but yeah, I think we have 60 something murals around the city of Kingston now that are all a part of O Positive. Um, and yeah, it's always been about, art incorporating all of these different mediums.
okay. Very cool. So, and musically, it's pretty diverse. I mean, I feel like I can go see like some Balkan square dancing, as well as like a ska punk band, but then also a math rock band. Like, there's just a lot of musical diversity. Would that be an accurate description?
Yeah, I always like to say we're like a non-genre specific festival and that there's something for everybody. If you like classical or punk rock or anything in between, there will be at least one or two things that you can really cling on to. And then hopefully it's an opportunity to, broaden your palette and see some stuff you might not have gone to see otherwise. But yeah, we really are trying to, because this is like Kingston is a really diverse city and we want to represent everybody and
Sure.
all the diverse cultural perspectives and musical genres and have something that draws everybody in.
I like that. I like that. And you'd mentioned the submission process. Like, could you describe what you're willing, what you're able to share? Like, how does
Yeah,
submission
absolutely.
process and like choosing musicians, artists, etc. How does that go? When does it start, etc.?
So the submission process these days opens in March. That's the plan for now. It opens in March. I think we might shorten the submission process a little bit this year, or the submission window, but it'll still be open for about a month, at least for music. I can't speak for art. In which you have an opportunity to submit. Submissions are free. Um, and it gives you an opportunity, explain who you are, a little bit of a proposal about what your show would be. If you have specific like audio visual needs or whatever, this gives you an opportunity to tell us. And then, where you're from, and then also if you have any healthcare needs. And if you're referred by someone else from the festival or someone that's played before. And so I'm the director of music programming, but I put together a music committee every year
Okay.
that's, like, anywhere from, like, 5 to 7 people usually, and I mentioned, like, I was on the committee in 2018, so it was cool. It was really nice to have been in it from that perspective before having this role. And most of the people we've had a couple people that have done it a few years in a row, but most of the people are changing every year
Okay.
intentionally so that we have, like, people from different different age groups, different genders, different just a diverse
Different
group of
backgrounds
people,
all around to make
different
sure.
backgrounds that like different kind of music and to all come. And so the music committee is here to both review these submissions because we'll get 200 submissions and we'll only have like 30 or 40 spots. So we are like really tediously going through, and we're looking for things such as I mentioned before, we really are trying not to bring bands back, to give new people an opportunity to not only access the clinic at the festival, but starting last year, we now have a year-round clinic. And so if you have ever if it and that backdates to anyone that's ever been a part of the festival before, you now have an opportunity to be a part of our year-round clinic if you find yourself in need. So that's even more of a reason for us to be wanting to get new people in the door to give them access to this instead of having the same people that already have
Sure, because they
access.
already have it.
We're going through the submissions and we're looking for things such as like, have you played before? But also, what's your genre? Because we want to make sure that we're not booking too much of a specific thing. And really importantly, like, what is your healthcare need? Do you have a need? Do you have a specific need that's something that we think we can help you with? Because if there are two bands and we love both of them, the music's great, blah, 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 but one of them has a healthcare need and one of them doesn't, we're going to take the band that has the healthcare need.
Sure,
Which is
that makes perfect
interesting because
sense.
I've had people over the years say to me, and I was guilty of this too back in the day, being like, "Oh, I don't wanna seem too needy in my submission because, like, I wanna make sure that other people get an opportunity," and it's like, that's the opposite. We like, tell us what you need, and that helps us curate. Um, so that's what we do with the music committee, and art has their own separate committee that does a similar thing for the art submissions. Um And it's hard because there's so much good stuff that comes in and it, like, sucks. It's like my least favorite part of the job is, like, saying no to people. I hate it.
I get it. I mean, I participate, like, as a vendor, like, Camp Pennsylvania and, like, at the fest in Florida, and people was like, "Oh, I never get picked." I was like, "They get thousands of people." Right? It's hard, and Camp Pennsylvania does a committee too. They have, like, their hardcore person, they have their ska person, they have their
I
pop punk
applied to play that
person.
this year, and I haven't heard back.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard, and, like, even though I've, like, put out their compilation album and I've been there and I've been a sponsor, it was like, "Do you have any say?" Like, "My own band didn't get chosen." Like, I have no power. It's not a who you know sort of situation. Like, it's really an authentic process. Um, same thing with the fest in Florida. They actually just this year, they're going to a submission form for the first time in 24 years.
Oh.
Prior, you had to, like, email Tony Weinbender and, like, hope that he could see it even though he just had a kid, like, 4 years ago and life is
Wow.
hard, like, I'm like, I never get offended, right? It's like, you don't get offended, you just
Not
accept that there are
personal.
reasons, and if you do and I'll see it on, like, I work with Punk Island too, and people will get upset and they'll post on their social media some sort of rant, and I was like, "Really? You think someone's got it out for you? It's look at the diversity of what's going on here." Like, I don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not personal.
There's no, entitlement to anything, like, even, I'm doing my rally in the Valley in April, and I'm trying very hard not to repeat any bands from last year. Like, even the bands that I manage, I'm like, "Yeah, I know you wanna play, and I appreciate that, but
You wanna provide opportunities for more people. Yeah,
I
I
also
get
want it
it.
to be more fun for people to come and not see the same bands again." It's only been a year. Like,
Where are you
there's a
doing it
lot
this
of great
year?
bands out there,
Is it at
you
Snappers
know?
again?
It will be at Snappers again, and, speaking of Snappers, 2 things, like, I have never repeated a single band on one of my Sunday shows until last month. So I went 12 months without repeating a band. So, and I've had people was like, "Oh, you limit who gets like call me a gatekeeper." I was like, "How am I a gatekeeper when I don't repeat bands?" And I'd say punk adjacent, but it's pretty diverse
Everyone loves
within
to
them.
complain.
Everyone likes to complain. But back to Snappers and the submission, which is what I was thinking of. Like, you have so many venues, and you added Snappers this year. I mean, when you're going through the submission process, do you already know in your head which venues you can have live music at? I think you did Assembly this year too, which is a new
Yeah.
venue.
Um, Ideally, yes, and that's something that we're gonna be working on in the coming weeks, is trying to really solidify where we plan to have music so that when we do go through the submission process, we know what we're doing. Um, yeah, that's ideal to when we're going through the submissions to have an idea of where we're gonna put people when curating for sure.
Because you do
And
try and
thank
keep
you did
everything
a great
within
job.
a circumference, right? Like,
Ideally, we want it to be walkable, bikeable, a short drive,
yes,
if possible. There have been, there like it's hard because there's great places in Kingston, like there's Tubby's, there's Unicorn, there's U-Pack, like
but they're
how do
just a
we're
little bit outside the uptown area. So
yeah. So it is nice to have a small footprint and like kind of like the Fest in Gainesville, right?
yes,
Where like everything's kind of right there and you can walk to places. I love that.
yes, it is very rare. There was a couple times where they had a couple of venues that were a little bit out of reach. I think it was Mother's Pub or some Irish place. And it wasn't inherently far, but if you were at the other furthest end, it could be like a good 2.5 miles, which I was
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm going to Uber to that one because for me to get all the way there and like there's the last, half mile, there's like nothing else but that one. So you're like literally having to go down that stretch. They don't do shows there anymore. I don't know why. I don't know if the venue shut down or
Well,
not,
that's
but like
probably why, because it's too
probably.
far. And
I mean,
especially
yeah.
something like the Fest or Idle Positive where there's so much going on and there's a good chance that there's 2 things you might wanna see in 1 hour. To be able to hop back and forth and see a little bit of both is great.
Yep. I have consistently walked in and seen like 15 minutes of something. I was like, all right, that was my nice amuse bouche, as it were. And I'm moving on to my next thing, my next hors d'oeuvre tray. It's the same thing at Punk Island. There's like 15 stages. I was like, okay, I'm watching this band. I was like, oh, I hear another band starting over that way. Okay, I watched 3 songs. Next band it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Take a few pictures. I saw it. I
Yeah,
experienced it. Yeah,
it was
for
great.
sure.
Next.
Um Yeah, so we're working on that, and, we're always trying to yeah, we used Assembly, and that was great, and I think that was a wonderful experience, but, like, historically, O Positive has been about, like, using the non-traditional spaces, like,
Yes.
for years, we had that great alleyway, the Summer Alley that's unfortunately, we can't use it anymore because of, unfair landlords that I will not mention, uh, but their name rhymes with Fender, and so yeah, we're always trying to find different places or storefronts or different alleyways or parking lots or, people's yards. Like, we're trying to think
Sure,
outside
keep
the
it
box.
outside the box. You should check out that grocery store that's on the corner near Assembly. I went to a hardcore show there right before winter hit.
Oh, right next to the bike shop?
Right next to Assembly, that it's on the corner
Yeah,
there, the
yeah.
new grocery store. Yeah, they had a
I
show in their
didn't
basement.
Oh,
So
that's really good to know because her partner or ex-partner runs the bike shop that's right next door that we've
okay,
used as a venue, and that has
yeah,
been, like, a really sweet example of a non-traditional space that we used, and I loved having intimate shows there, and he does have shows there throughout the year. I didn't know about the grocery
yep.
store, that's awesome.
It was really fun too because like, I hadn't been to a straight up basement show in a hot minute because they don't have any basements in Florida. And so, I was like, okay, this is great. Like, but they had a shelf to put merch up, and luckily I had my drum rug with me because nobody had a drum rug. But I got to see Come Mierda. It's like half the members are in Jersey, the half's in California. So I was like, this is great. I just had a blast, and they had beer for sale upstairs, and I was like, I am having the time of my life at this super rad basement show of a grocery store. I was like, this is great.
I just wrote it down in my venue notes so I didn't forget about the grocery store. Cool. Yeah, that's great. Um To circle back to your question about the year-round clinic,
Yes,
we had been renting the space next door to Keegan Ailes, behind Camp Kingston for the past, like, year and a half, and that's where we had our clinic space, but in an attempt to consolidate, we now have the space at 33 Wall Street, which is on the corner of Wall and North Front that used to be Bapta Tatum, and that we are using as art gallery, venue space. It's our new office. It's pretty much
yes,
everything. And then behind the wall, behind the stage, is a clinic room where, like, we have a primary care physician on staff. So, like, that's where you would go if you were seeing a primary care physician. Then there's, like, depending on what you're looking for, a lot of the stuff is not happening in our office. Like, if you wanted to see a dentist, obviously you're gonna go to their office, or if you wanted to get acupuncture, you would likely be set up with a practitioner and go to their office. But our clinic is where, you'd see our practitioner, our yeah, general.
okay, that is super rad. And is that open to like staff and volunteers, or is it primarily for artists and musicians? Not that I would be upset if that's all it
It's
was,
really
because that's a lot
for the
already.
people that have performed or, like, created
Sure.
art for the
And that makes
festival.
perfect sense.
We do a thing, during the festival for super volunteers, meaning if you do 2 shifts, that's 8 hours over the weekend, you do get 1 clinic visit during the weekend of
Okay.
the festival.
I believe that was mentioned to me because I did the 2 snapper shows, but I was too busy.
I wish I wish you had a time to go, and, you didn't have a chance, and, like, we love you, and
Yeah.
if you needed something, reach out, and we'll always see what we
Uh,
can do.
I luckily, I'm a New York State employee, so, my health insurance overall is pretty amazing, so
I'm happy to
I'm
hear
good. I
that.
don't wanna take those services from other people. If I really needed something, I'd have found the time, but I'm relatively good, but thank you. I mean, this is just really great stuff, and did you get are there anybody copying you anywhere else? Have, like, anyone said, "Oh, I love what they're doing, let me go elsewhere and do it other places"? Have you seen
Oh, yeah.
any spinoffs?
Um In earlier years of O Positive, there were quite a few. Like, I wasn't involved in these, but there was an O Positive with the national O Positive team. Some of the OG Kingston people, they helped do an O Positive in Petaluma, California. There was one that I think that happened maybe a couple times. There was one in Chicago. I think there was one in Philadelphia. There was one in North Adams, Massachusetts, and there was ones in Poughkeepsie.
Uh-huh.
I know there's been talks even right now about maybe doing one in Ellenville. So we have a thing that our team was just chatting about it this morning on Slack. We have a thing called Toolkit. That's kind of like if you were interested in hosting your own old positive festival, here's like a booklet that's been put together with kind of like the basic guidelines of how you can get started. And then Joe, who's the co-founder, he will hop on a call with you and kind of give you the rundown and see if this is something you want to do on your own or if there's a way that we can help and get incorporated. So yeah, I mean, like as of right now, Kingston has been the only one for the past few years, but like I mentioned, all those other places had happened, and I'm sure there will be more in the future.
Okay, that is super rad. Like, because I would love to see it inspire. Like, you've seen people like, I think you and I talked that one time outside of Keegan's or a rough draft about doing like a punk rock flea market, because there's a lot of those going around. I would
Yeah.
love to see O positives all over. Like, this is just such a great positive idea. I didn't mean to say it like that. But it is. It's like it's super rad. Where do you So do you work for them now, or are you like a volunteer staffer, or and
I work for them now. Like when I did things in the past, like being on the music committee, and doing stuff at the festival, that was a volunteer position, but it is a year-round part-time position, and my role is the programming director.
that is pretty rad. And where do you get? I mean, I know you get sponsors, because the bracelets aren't overly expensive, and I
They're
do
pay what
think
you
that you have
can.
an affordability way. Like, if people can't afford, like, you have a pretty healthy means of allowing lower income people to be able to get in. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah, it's always been a sliding scale, pay what you can. I mean, if people can give that I mean, we'll have a suggested donation, of I think, like and even that is really affordable, like $100 for the whole weekend or something, but it's literally like, if you have $1, if you have $0, like, we let everybody in. The festival is not a moneymaker for us. It's really more of a community event and a vehicle for getting the care to the artists. Um but yeah, I mean, as we're a nonprofit organization, so we're getting our money mostly through grants, sponsorships, donations, and we do get a little bit of money from Novo. Um,
Okay. I
uh,
mean,
but it's hard. Like
yeah,
we struggle. Like we really struggle to find ways to sustain ourselves because we don't have a way to make money. Like we don't have our own I mean, we do have this 334 space now where we're throwing shows, but it's like it's limited. Our capacity there is limited. We
yeah,
don't have like our own venue. We don't have a liquor license. We don't like we're not selling anything. So it's we really have to
sure.
rely on like I said, sponsorships, donations, things like
Yeah,
that.
I don't see you like having like O positive merch up on a website that you're selling. And even if you did,
I mean, we
merch
do.
only
Like,
sell,
we
yeah, but
definitely do have O Positive
yeah,
merch on our website, and we would love people to buy it, but even that, it's like, I think we break even on our merchandise. It's more like
yeah,
wear an O Positive thing and walk around town and, like, rep and
absolutely.
have people ask you what that is and tell people about it.
So I know we had talked before, and we will talk again off of this, but I had turned all my snapper shows going forward into benefit shows. So I'm thinking sometime this summer between May, June, July, definitely doing a benefit show for O positive if you'd be down with it.
That would be so cool of you, and we
So,
would love that, and we'll be there, we'll help promote, we'll support, we'll table, whatever you want. That would be great.
speaking of which, whoever runs your social media, I need to thank whoever that is because they've been sharing my benefit shows pretty frequently on your Instagram story. So whoever that is, if that's you, if it's someone else, thank you. I appreciate
It
that.
was me
It's very
until
kind.
recently, but in the past few months, it's been this woman, Liz Paradise.
Well,
Last
thank you,
name is
Liz
actually Paradise.
Paradise.
She's great.
I very much appreciate you for that. It's very kind. So you mentioned the storefront that does shows. I had seen something about that very briefly, I think, on Facebook. What is this show space? Is it like an all ages space? Like, how does that process work for that?
Okay, we're, like, really just, codifying the process right now since we just got the space in June. I think we've done about 5 shows so far.
Okay.
It is an all ages space. It is a non-alcoholic space. We do have a bar there with like yerba mate and mocktails and stuff like that for purchase or for donation rather. It's we had our first kind of sellout show recently, which gave us an idea of how many people we can actually fit in the space. And so it's about 70 standing,
Okay.
which felt
That
good and
that's
full.
that's a really
Um,
good number.
or like 35 seated,
Okay.
or a combination of both, and that can be decided by the artist. Uh,
Okay.
Ticket prices are going to be decided by the artist with like a minimum of $10 a head, just because we need to we need to break even, and everyone
Sure.
wants it, especially because we don't have an actual bar. Um, but yeah, ticket prices are set by the artists, and they can decide whether they want to do it standing or seated or a combination thereof. And we kind of just really I had just been curating the shows for the past few months, um, of just people I wanted to work with or people that reached out to me directly. But just in the past couple weeks, like we made a proper form you could fill out on it's
Okay.
opositivefestival.org/booking334, where you could like submit, and we also made an image that said, "Now booking 2026." So I will say, like, just in the past week since we started posting that, we've been, like, inundated.
I'm
That's,
sure
like,
you have.
what I'm gonna do for the rest of the day today is, like, really start going through these and seeing, because our staff is limited and we're also in a rental space, we can only, do, like, we'll probably the goal is probably, like, 2 shows a month there. So I need to really start sifting through these and
Thinking about it
seeing, and
and
it might be a
promoting
while
them.
till I get to everybody. Um, but,
Do
we'll
you
do,
have
like,
your own
3 band bills, ideally.
do you have your own sound person and everything? And this, is there a sound system there, or do you
There's a
you need
sound
to bring
system
in a
there, yeah, like a
yeah.
pretty standard, there's a subwoofer, 2 monitors, 2
Okay.
speakers, and a decent board, and, depending on what the show is, like, someone from our staff will run it, like, some former staff members ran it, our friend Mac, like, if it's something simple, I can run it, or depending on what we book in the future, like, I'm sure there'll be shows where we'll bring a sound engineer in, but generally, like, someone one of us will do it, and, we'll have a door person. We'll make a poster, we'll hang it up, we'll promote on our social media outlets, and then, we just are working, like, pretty much it now, like, we're just doing, reasonable door splits.
Okay. No, that makes perfect sense. I mean, I tend to prefer a door split to anything else because, you never quite know what a guarantee is going to be in that nature. And I
Yeah, well, there's
imagine now
not
you've
much
got
addition.
I mean, you've got, sound person, door person, someone to clean up and or like, to work the sober bar. And
Yeah,
I mean, you're talking at least 4 or 5 people having to be present just to make the show happen, not to mention whoever made the poster, hung the posters and managed the booking. So like,
exactly.
that's
Everything you
that's
just
a
said.
fair amount of work. And I say that as someone who does most of that by myself, other than I do have my own sound guy, my own two-door people, Willie, Al, and Dez. Um, but I couldn't do it if
Yeah,
I didn't have them helping me. Love Dez.
yeah,
Love all of them.
absolutely.
Like I
Everything
couldn't
you
do
just
as many shows as I do if I didn't have that kind of support staff.
said. Mhm.
So it's
And the other thing we can offer that's really, really important is that now, if you play a show at 334 throughout the year, you get into our year-round exchange clinic, into the health clinic.
wow.
It's not just from playing at the festival.
That is super cool. That is so rad. I'm excited. So I can't wait to see what shows you have there, so I can go and be supportive of it because you know me, I like to support as much as I can of stuff. And
You're the best.
well, that is very kind of you. I don't know that I'm the best, but I certainly try my best to be helpful.
You're pretty
I
damn
was,
good.
I, thank you. I was bummed when the Keegan Ale show got canceled this last Saturday. I was all set to leave,
Me
and I
too.
saw the post, and I was like, fine.
Yeah,
I was like,
I was already yeah,
I
same.
was
I was on
so
my
set
way.
to go. I love both those bands. And I was like, oh, free admission, great beer, great music. I was like, not too far from my house. I could drive there and Uber home. I was like, this is going to be glorious.
Did you already know Shadow Witch, or did from working their
I
show
knew
at
Shadow Witch from their Be Negative show that they had done.
Yeah.
Sorry to bring that up, but yeah.
Okay.
So that's when I first saw them actually. Um, and then I saw them again at the O Positive Fest I work, but I actually talked to them and I like just really enjoyed them as people on top of like their music and Dez loved them. Like he's the sort of sound guys like it's not even about like whether it's the style of music he likes. He likes it when musicians are so good that they know exactly how to set their equipment so the sound like he was going off on some sort of thing that I don't understand. He's like, like yeah. I'm a drummer. I'm not a sound guy. I'm sure it's amazing. Like it all sounds great to me, whatever he does, but it's like, no, they were so great. Their sound, how they blend, and I'm like, okay,
They're good friends, they're good guys,
they,
and
they were great.
even with the Be Negative thing, I was like, "Bros, you're my friends." And I love them, and they played again this year, and sometimes the squeaky wheel does get the grease, and in this case, like,
Sometimes,
they wanted to work together with them.
yeah, no, and and then Mama Doom, they did a show for me at Snugs earlier last year, so and they were super kind and super nice. And they were gonna do another show for me at Reason and Ruckus, but their singer, I forget their name, they had some sort of like throat surgery had to happen. So I'm glad they're feeling better. So I was excited to see them both. And, Tony, of course, was going to be there. And I love Tony.
Yeah, I love Tony.
He's such a kind person. Like he's one of those people when I started doing shows, he came up, introduced himself to me and was like, hey, da da da. And I was like, all right, thank you. I just appreciate kindness.
Absolutely.
So, um, so I mean, there's a lot to manage, right? Like just me managing those two shows that I did was a lot. Like, how do you manage the management of all of that? Like, you must have I hope you have a sprawling staff, but I have a feeling that it's not a sprawling staff, that it's a small skeleton staff and everyone's working their tails off.
Yeah. We have a really small staff. We only have 4 full-time employees year-round. There's a couple part-timers like me. And then we do some festival hires that are specifically just working at the festival or the weeks leading up to the festival, to help with like front of house and ticketing and, things like that. Um, so we have like a small but mighty staff for the festival. And then we really rely on volunteers.
And you seem like you get a lot of them. I mean, there's a fair amount. I met several of them, particularly this last one.
Yeah, yeah. We need I forget the number offhand, but it's like we need over 100 volunteers to maybe it's like 150 or something to have this run smoothly. And we do have a volunteer coordinator that's hired in the months leading up to the festival to help with that, help do outreach and do some like training sessions and the like. But yeah, we always need more volunteers. Yeah.
um, is there a way that I'm assuming you post on social media on your website that you're looking for volunteers.
Yeah, we do, and I'm pretty sure there's a spot on the website all year round where you could, give us your information. But yeah, especially as it gets closer, we post a lot on our social media platforms, and also, if anybody wants to know about what's going on with O Positive, I think the best way is to join our mailing list. We send out like 1 email a month, sometimes 2, that really just gives a rundown of what's going on, and you can do that by going to our website, opopositivefestival.org, and click subscribe. Um, and then we're, like, always giving reminders of looking for volunteers and stuff like that.
Sure, of course, that makes sense. And do most volunteers work all 3 days, or do they work one day, or and
Most
then
people just do 1 4-hour shift, and then there's a handful of super volunteers that do 2 shifts or more, and then, those are the people that also get clinic access.
and then the 4 hour shift people, do they get access to the festival all weekend then?
Yeah, you get access
Yeah.
to the festival, and you get, a T-shirt.
Yep. Sounds very like Camp Pennsylvania is a very similar situation. You volunteer, you do like a 4 or 8 hour shift, but then the rest of the weekend you're free to just do whatever you want.
Yeah,
which
it's
is
good, it's great. And I understand it's like our motivation is not as much as other places because we have a sliding scale ticket. It's not
yeah.
like I'm gonna save $100 by volunteering. It's more like I am helping this organization and this
Sure.
festival go on so that myself and the rest of the community can enjoy it by giving 4 hours, and I also don't have to necessarily donate.
Yeah, I mean, you're at that intersection of music and art and community, right? Like, I would always say music and art bring community, but you're trying to make a specific actual effort to bring a services to underserved communities, whether it's musicians or super volunteers that are volunteering and getting access to some healthcare. Like, so it's beyond just like doing a show. Like it's so much more than that, which is what's so amazing about it. It's what I love about it so much.
Thank you. Yeah, and I do want people to know that because I think a lot of people think, "Oh, positive," and they just think here's this one 3-day festival, but we really are trying to expand and do year-round work and provide opportunities and do youth education and mural tours and, just really provide opportunities for creativity and for care throughout the year.
Do you I mean, I know that the shows at Snappers are 21 over, but do you bring like a younger acts in, like people that are teenagers to perform, whether artists or
Yeah,
musicians?
we had a couple of bands this year that like, we had the Rock Academy in 2024. We had a couple of, like, youth bands this year that played, like, earlier spots at Keegan's. There was one year a few years back where we did, like, a proper just youth stage, that was outside the YWCA. So and that is something that I would be interested in doing more of moving forward in the right spot. But, we do at least try to sprinkle in a few every year.
Okay. Do you have any fundraising events that occur prior to that? Like I had mentioned doing a show, but do you do specific fundraising events prior to O Positive to fundraise, raise awareness?
In we didn't in the past years, we've done, like, one large music event, as a fundraiser. Like, we had Amanda Palmer a few years ago, we had Allison Russell, we had Chick Chick Chick. That one we paired with an art auction, but in 2025, we didn't do one just because we had too much on our plate. Uh, so yeah, we try to do it, and then we do a lot of tabling and stuff in the months up to the
Sure.
festival
I mean,
as a
that's
way
where I
to
met you
get
was tabling in
there.
the streets. So
Yeah, yeah, to try to have
yeah.
awareness.
Okay. Okay. What would you say is like, I mean, there's so many things like, what is the thing that if anyone could be helpful to you that they could do the most? Like if anyone in the community could be helpful, would it be volunteering? Would it be coming out? Like, what is the thing that like, if someone listens to this and they're local to the area, even if they're far away, what could they do to be supportive of O Positive Fest?
That's such a great question, and thank you. There's a few things, and you mentioned some of them. Volunteering, hugely, hugely helpful. Um, Telling other people, whether that's people that live in the community or people that might want to travel here or other bands not from the area about who we are and what we're doing, just like spreading the gospel of this is what this is. This might be something you'd be interested in attending. Great. If you're a healthcare practitioner, reaching out and donating your time throughout the year or at the festival, because now we do need that kind of support year round since we have the year round clinic. Um, and I hate to say it, but like donating, if you have some money, like we're a nonprofit and we're like every nonprofit, we're on a shoestring budget
Constantly.
and cash donations are always really appreciated.
Yep. My wife works for a nonprofit and she's in their development. So they're constantly working on grants and fundraising. So I am fully aware of the cycle of fundraising and the difficulty because there's a lot of great causes out there and getting people to support yours, which is valuable. It's still you got to cut through all the noise.
Yeah. I'm actually having a meeting with somebody later today who participated as, a visual and musical artist this year, who said to me, um, "I still talk to a lot of people that don't really grasp what you're doing, and I have some ideas of how we can help with your messaging." And that is something that I feel like we've come up against year after year of like, how do we get people to understand that this is not just a party? It is a party, it is a community event, but like our mission as a nonprofit is not to throw a party, it is to get healthcare access to artists and musicians. And sometimes like when you're so close to something, it's hard to see it from an outside perspective, and it's hard to see what you're overlooking or what you're doing wrong, and so I appreciate that this person is gonna take some time to just be like, "Here are some thoughts, of what you could do differently with your messaging. Here are some things other people said to me after the festival." So I'm looking forward to that conversation.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, like, being here in Kingston, I feel like most of the people I talk to about it have a pretty good understanding. But you go outside of Kingston and it gets a little bit more, either they've never heard of or they have no concept of what it is. They just think it's a normal festival or they think it's a blood drive.
Yeah, yeah. I get that a lot.
I'm sure, but that's, it's part of the nature of the beast. Like educating people on what it is you do has got to be probably an essential thing to figure out.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's definitely something we're constantly thinking about, talking about, trying to work on.
Oh, wow. So I'm like, so you have this year's coming up. You're doing the artists coming in March, the musicians. Is it always it was in August last year, right? Or was it October?
It's always
October.
October, it's always
October,
Indigenous
yes.
Peoples Weekend every year, so you can
Okay.
mark your calendar now.
I will mark it. That was a hard weekend for me to do. I was told my wife, I was like, because when you all talked to me about doing, it, I was like, oh my gosh, I already have so many shows this month, and I had booked this one band from Philadelphia, Burning Hag, a 3-day run, that I was going to be at all three of those shows, and then I had another show that Sunday, and Laura reached out to me and was like, hey, could you do that Friday and Saturday? I was like, well, that'd be like, that's another full weekend. And I'm like, my wife's like, oh, come on, you love a positive fest. Suck it up and do it. And I was like, okay. So I
And you
did, and it
still
was
did it,
great.
it was so great.
Yeah, it was so much fun. It was such an honor to be part of it. And Snappers, I think, was so happy. Like during your set, I had to do one in and one out. I don't know if I told you that. It was so packed. No one could get
I
like
was so
past the
nervous.
foosball table. And I was
I
like,
was like
but I know Laura. I was like, yeah, yeah, you work for a positive. Everyone working for a positive knows Laura. That doesn't count. Sorry. Next time, be here on time.
I
I don't
was
know what to
nervous
tell
because
you.
I put us up against Cool Keith and Rachel Yamagata. It was like 2 of the headliners, and I'm like, "Why did I do that to myself?" But it worked out okay.
It worked out great. I mean, all the bands had really, really good crowds overall.
Yes.
So it was a super, awesome experience to be part of that. I was truly honored that you asked me to do that, by the way. So thank you for that. And I'm glad
Oh,
my
I
wife
hope we can
told me I
do
could
it
find the
again.
time. Oh, I will do it again. Wherever you want to put me, whether it's there or somewhere else, I am happy to help. I mean, whatever you need. You just say, Scott, help me. And I'm like, yeah, I got you. I got you
Many
for sure. So what do you think are the biggest, besides, like, you had mentioned getting out your message, what are the biggest challenges of running a festival like this?
Well, a challenge that I come up against year after year is like, so yes, the majority of people that are getting booked are coming through the submission process, but we do a degree of curation to get headliners,
Okay.
because we want to draw more people to the event. Um, and it is very challenging trying to book bigger names when you're basically trying to barter for healthcare,
Yes.
and a stipend. But it's every year it's the same issue of like we just don't have the money of what you're asking for, and it's really, I feel like if you can get to the artists directly, or you can maybe get to their managers and you can really explain the mission, or you're talking to somebody that like is known for being a healthcare advocate or someone that has healthcare issues, it's like that's the route, or somebody with local ties. But if the only way you can get through to somebody is their booking agent and they're just looking for the dollar sign, I'm sure plenty of my pitches never even get past to the artist.
Yep. I have certainly had that issue with booking agents, even for shows where I'm actually willing to pay. Um, but it's very difficult sometimes. I would talk to the artist, and I think the artist would agree to do it, but I have to get through the booking agent sometime. With the booking agent, I'm sure they get their paid cut, which is fine. I do tour booking for bands and things like so I understand to a point. But you're a benefit, and I think if you could get straight to the artist, that sometimes they would say, yeah, yeah, we'll drive from Boston and we'll come up from DC, and play a show for a benefit for healthcare and get healthcare ourselves. Like, it seems feasible to me, but maybe I'm just wrong.
And some people do it. Like I will say someone like just give some shout outs to like Kate Pearson of the B-52s. You know, she came and played a couple years ago and she donated her time to us and she brought a great band and like that was it was wonderful. Or like Rhett Miller of the old 97s, you know,
Yeah,
he did it for,
I saw him at the Colony. Great.
yeah. So, you know, there are people that care and like the cause and want to do
No,
it.
that's true. I mean, that's part of like when I moved the shows to all benefit shows at Snappers. I asked people, I was like, "Oh, are you still going to be able to get out of town bands?" I'm like, "I'm pretty sure if I have the right cause, that I can get out of town bands to still come from, regionally out of town, like DC, Boston, et cetera. That'll drive 5 or 6 hours to play a good benefit show where they know it's going to a good cause, it'll be a good crowd, and they're going to get fed, and they're going to get taken care of to a point." Um, but if they know it's for a benefit, I think the bands will still come.
Yeah. I hope you're right. Yeah.
So far, it's been true. I just I've only had like one or two bands say no, we can't play benefit shows, but it's
Some
pretty
people
few
I
and far
think
between.
and this has happened to me with my own music is like you get asked to play so many
Yes,
benefit shows that you just have to pick and choose which ones because you can't do them all.
I think I'm on the reverse end of that where I get asked to sponsor so many festivals because they see my name on some sponsors, and someone will be like, "Oh, I'm gonna have a punk rock horror Halloween festival in some town in Ohio. Would you like to sponsor it?" I was like, "I mean, yeah, I mean, what does that mean? How much?" I was like, "Oh, $200." I'm like, "That's a lot of money for a first time festival." And it's like I'm not made of money. Like I'm happy to sponsor and help something out, but I'm like, I get asked so many, probably on a monthly basis, I get asked to sponsor something. And I'm like, I can't say yes to everything because I have to put out records and do other things. Like I'm not I'm not a nonprofit.
For sure. And
So I think
you do so much. I mean, you do so much for the community already, and even now, especially that you said, you know, you're turning your shows into benefit shows, like, you support the community. You know, I'm, like, such a huge fan of what you do, and you support the community so wholeheartedly.
punk rock's just supposed to be community, right? Like music and community, they're
Yeah,
supposed to go together. So, I would be a poor social studies teacher if I didn't make sure that the things I do support the community. Civic involvement is something engagement is something I truly believe in. So, whatever that looks like to you is, to you, I mean, the audience out there, you should participate. Do more than just play music. I mean, it's great to play music, don't get me wrong, but do more than that.
totally. And it's been, you know, as someone that just played music for full time for 10 years, that like what I was doing before the pandemic, I will say that working this job has like changed things for me personally. Like I went from like the shift from like always self-promoting and that was all I did. And it was very much like me to wanting and needing to help other people and help uplift their careers. And I feel like that's even like changed my personality a little bit. Like it's made me a little like more humble, less obnoxious, like less self-centered, you know, whatever.
Yeah. When you have a cause bigger than yourself, and self promotion is exactly what you should do in a band, and it's because it's what you want. You want people to listen to your band and see your band. But if you can find a way to take that self promotion and merge it with community promotion to helping other people, then that's just it's two cups of greatness right there. Like it's great to help yourself, but it's also great to help others if you can. And I've never thought you of any. I mean, I've only known you for 3 years, but you've always seemed as a humble person who believes in their community. So that's how you've always come across to me.
Thank you. And I mean, not to say that I was ever like I was never a dick or anything. And
No,
like
no, no.
all my years in playing music, you know, when people ask for like advice or someone's like, come talk to a group of like kids that want to get into the music world, like, what's your advice? I'm always just like, don't have an ego. Just like show up, be nice, like be nice to the sound person, be nice to the bartender, like be nice to the booker, be nice to the other band, stay and watch them. Just don't be a dick. Like that's it.
I
You know,
actually
and
have been
don't let
talking
any
to
fear
Rock
hit.
Academy about teaching not an etiquette course, but hey, you're in a band, you wrote some songs. What does it mean to play a show? How do you book your own shows? How do you put on your own shows? And give advice to like the young kids who are starting because they don't know what they don't know. Right. And someone has to be there to guide you. And, I grew up in DC where, ethical behavior by bands was kind of part and parcel for the course. So, but I was, taught very early on how you do things.
And it
And
was a
I
different
remember,
world back
what's
then.
that?
It was a different world back then too.
It was a
People
different world back
interacted
then.
differently.
But like I've had bands where it's like, oh, you came out and you're here and you're packing up as soon as you're done. Or I was like, oh, you shouldn't do that. And, you should stay. I was like, why should we stay? I was like, because you're there more than for your performance. You're there to support the larger community. Because if you support them, and I don't mean this as like a hand washing the other sort of thing, it's more of a collaborative event. Like these are things that you should do. That should just happen. Like, and if you do this, it's going to help you later because, the scene is small and reputations matter. And if you're the band that always leaves,
Yep,
you know,
100%.
I get it, sometimes people have to, they have things to take care of, but usually like one band member can stay and be like, hey, this is it. I'm here. We're sticking to the end of the night because that's what you should do.
Yes, kids definitely need to hear that. And also be reminded that, like, just because you get a little bit of success or a lot of success, don't let that go to your head. Like, don't have an ego. Like, you might think that you're everything and you are everything, but we're also nothing and everything in between that. Like, be just be modest.
Be modest, especially if your success is in like, oh, your local town. I was like, yeah, your local town loves you. Drive 3 hours away, see how they respond. Like it's, you go on the road, you go on tour often enough, you're like, man, everyone loved us back in DC. Now we're in the middle of Iowa and
Tuesdays are hard.
yeah. Yeah. It's like you just don't know. But like, it's always about being kind to the promoter, being kind to the other bands, kind to the sound people. Like kindness goes so far. Like I will not deal with bands that like I felt were like unkind to my people or to me. And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I don't need you to like give me big hugs and high fives, but I expect respect.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, like, I feel like really y I feel that from you, and that it, like, comes off as very apparent in your shows and the work you do and just you as a person.
Well, thank you. But yeah, I think that's just something bands need to know. I mean, so, you work with artists and writers. I mean, I guess the personality is still broadly the same across the board. I mean, how hard is it to navigate all those different personalities and needs and what they're used to? Because you have some small DIY people and then you have like the bigger up people, and it's got to be really difficult to make sure you're meeting all their needs. And I wouldn't say egos because sometimes they're just used to something and been doing it so long, they're used to getting what they get and they deserve what they get. But you're not always able to supply that. Like maybe you're not hand washing their towels and drying them so they don't get white fuzzies on their face when they wipe their hands on the towels. Like that may just be something you can't do.
Yeah, I mean, all we could do is try our best. Like, we try to make everybody feel comfortable. We try to do the best we can with hospitality, like, we've got a great, green room for everyone that's participating. Like, you can go there and get 3 meals a day
That's
for the whole
awesome.
weekend. It's one of my favorite parts of O Positive. And so we just, we really just try to make people feel comfortable as much as we can and feel appreciated and, do what we can do and try to also set realistic expectations.
Sure, sure. Um, so do you have anything you're looking forward to specifically for next year, or is it still too early that you're to either share or that you don't even know yet what's happening because it's like you literally are just 2 months out from the last one?
Yeah, honestly, these couple months after the festival, at least personally, I just try to like take a breather and then like, get through the holiday season. And starting in January is when like we'll actually start talking seriously about what venues we want to use and start doing some outreach to headliners and then open the submission process in March. So it's a little bit early to really know.
Okay, okay. Um, is there anything else that you want to share that I haven't asked? Because you've shared a lot of amazing stuff. So, I mean,
Um, yeah, I encourage people to check out the space at 334 because in addition to us having shows there, like I mentioned, there's art openings, but there's also all sorts of classes and workshops that happen there on a regular basis. Some of them are free, some of them are sliding scale, some of them are a low ticket price, but there's things like I know there's yoga classes, there's I've been doing glitter size, which is like choreographed aerobic dance.
Nice.
There's been improv for sanity classes biweekly. There's always like different stuff happening there. So, check the calendar on the website, join the mailing list. And we encourage
Is
you
that
to
on
come
the O
check us out.
Positive website, or is there a separate website for
Yeah, it's
334?
opositivefestival.org.
Okay.
There's a lot on the website, so you kinda have to, like, look around a little bit, but I'd
Yeah.
say honestly or follow us on our socials, O Positive, or join our mailing list.
Okay, wonderful. I thank you so very much, Laura. It has been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I am so excited for next year's O Positive Fest. Um, Thank you everyone for listening. I'm going to put all the information in the show description, whether this is on YouTube or on streaming. Please check out O Positive Fest, follow them. Make sure you also subscribe and follow me on whatever streaming or YouTube you're watching, and go to dcpclive.com, and you can also watch the episode from there, and or follow us on Instagram if you're new to listening to the show. I thank you all very much, and Laura, I can't thank you enough. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. Pleasure's mine. You're the best.